Tomorrow is not carrying ordinary energy, and you must not treat it like just another passing shift in the sky. The Libra Moon arrives like a sacred correction, like a hand from the unseen world reaching down to touch the scales that have been tilted for far too long. Because Venus and Saturn have already begun tightening their grip since yesterday, this is not soft energy, and it is not random. This is the kind of moment that reveals what has been uneven, what has been dishonored, what has been emotionally draining you in silence. Something is being weighed now. Something is being judged now. And for Libra, Aries, and Cancer, what was lost, withheld, denied, taken through imbalance, is beginning to move back into alignment. You may have felt it already. It's that strange emotional heaviness, that quiet seriousness in the air, that realization that certain words no longer satisfy you, certain excuses no longer soothe you, certain connections no longer feel safe enough to carry into your future. This is because the cosmic scales are rebalancing. They're not doing it loudly. They're not doing it all at once. But they are moving, and you can feel the shift if you listen closely enough. Tomorrow's Libra Moon is not here to entertain illusion. It is here to reveal where your energy has been overextended, where your heart has been underprotected, and where your destiny has been waiting for you. Stop calling imbalance by the name of love. There are moments in life when justice does not arrive through revenge, chaos, or dramatic confrontation. It arrives through truth. It arrives through clarity. Arrives through a sudden inability to keep betraying yourself for the comfort of others. And that is the kind of justice that is forming now. Libra is the sign of balance, but balance is not passive. Balance is not weakness. Balance is a sacred law. When something has been taken from you emotionally, spiritually, financially, or relationally through unfairness, avoidance, manipulation, or misalignment, the universe begins looking for a way to restore the order that was broken. Tomorrow's moon brings that restoration closer. It is not just returning what was lost. It is helping you see why it was lost, who was involved, what pattern made it possible, what version of you can never live that way again. This is why the energy may feel sobering. Venus and Saturn do not flatter your fantasies. They do not keep you asleep inside romantic stories that are hurting you. They do not let you keep pouring sacred energy into people who want your softness, but not your truth, your loyalty, but not your future, your presence, but not your reality. Since yesterday, this alignment has been revealing serious truths about love, commitment, and emotional maturity. It has been asking a difficult question, and that question is this: what in your life has been out of balance because you were afraid to see things clearly? And tomorrow, under the Libra Moon, that question becomes even sharper. Because now the scales are not just showing the imbalance, they are beginning to correct it. Before this moment, you may have been living inside a long stretch of emotional uncertainty. You may have felt like you were waiting for someone to become clearer, kinder, more present, more honest, more available. You may have been carrying a private fatigue that even you struggled to explain. Maybe you kept telling yourself to be patient. Maybe you told yourself that love is complicated, that timing is strange, that people go through things, that everything would make sense eventually. But deep down, part of you was already feeling the truth. Part of you knew that the scales were off. Part of you knew you had been the one holding the emotional weight, the one making the effort, the one trying to preserve harmony while quietly absorbing the imbalance. And that kind of pattern leaves marks. It leaves restlessness in the body. It leaves confusion in the nervous system. It leaves a pressure in the chest that feels like grief mixed with responsibility. It leaves a strange loneliness even when someone is technically still there. It makes you question your standards. It makes you question your intuition. It makes you think maybe you were asking for too much when all you were asking for was emotional reciprocity, clear intention, and genuine stability. This is why the shift now feels so karmic. The universe is not just changing your outer circumstances. It is showing you the true cost of imbalance so that you do not walk into your next chapter carrying the same blind spot. Tomorrow's Libra Moon begins to return what was taken. But you must understand what that really means. Sometimes what was taken was peace. Sometimes it was confidence. Sometimes it was trust in your own perception. Sometimes it was time, energy, softness, hope, or emotional innocence. Sometimes what was taken was not stolen through cruelty, but drained through inconsistency, silence, avoidance, and half-hearted connection. And that matters. I guess many people only know how to identify harm when it is obvious, but the soul knows that slow imbalance is also a form of loss. The soul knows that being kept in emotional uncertainty for too long can wound you. The soul knows that mixed signals can erode your self-worth if you stay beneath them for too long. And now, the scales are beginning to expose exactly where that erosion happened. This is where the karmic shift begins. Not in some dramatic ending that everyone can see, but in your own inner rebalancing. In your refusal to keep normalizing what hurts, your ability to feel the difference between longing and truth, in your recognition that not everyone who touches your heart deserves access to your future. A karmic cycle is ending now, and what closes with this cycle is your willingness to confuse emotional labor with destiny. What closes is the chapter where you keep explaining away your own pain to make someone else more comfortable. What closes is the pattern of carrying more than your share just to keep the relationship from collapsing. If it can only survive when you abandon yourself, then it was never balanced to begin with. The Libra Moon has come to show you that. As this shift deepens, you may notice the emotional experience becoming surprisingly physical. Heaviness in the chest, tension in the throat, a strange tiredness even after sleeping. Restless dreams, sudden memories surfacing without warning. Moments of calm followed by waves of sadness that seem to come from nowhere. Do not ignore this. The body often feels the scales moving before the mind can fully explain why. When the universe starts restoring balance, it does not only change external outcomes, it moves through your nervous system. It releases stored disappointment. It brings buried awareness to the surface. It shows you where you have been clenching, where you have been bracing, where you have been shrinking, and where you have been trying to stay. Emotionally composed in situations that were silently breaking your trust, you may also feel a new kind of silence around you. Not the painful silence of neglect, but the revealing silence that makes truth impossible to avoid. People may pull back. Conversations may slow down. Responses may become shorter. Or perhaps someone's emotional inconsistency becomes too obvious. To ignore, this is not necessarily punishment. In many cases, this is revelation. When the cosmic scales rebalance, people begin showing you who they are without all the extra noise. They stop performing. They stop decorating their intentions. They stop giving you just enough to keep you hoping. And in that stripped-down space, you begin to see what is stable and what is not, what is sincere and what is not. It's what belongs in your future and what does not. This is also why tomorrow carries a rebirth energy beneath the karmic seriousness. Because every time the scales are corrected, something old must fall away. And whenever something false falls away, something truer can finally begin. Rebirth does not always feel joyful at first. Sometimes rebirth begins with discomfort. Sometimes it begins with disappointment. Sometimes it begins with a quiet realization that the version of love, success, support, or peace you were settling for is too small for who you are becoming. But this is still grace. This is still protection. This is still the universe leading you toward what is stable, authentic, and aligned. You are not being emptied for no reason. You are being cleared for something cleaner. And yes, this transit reaches into money, value, and abundance as well. Because Libra is not only about romance and partnership, it is about fairness, exchange, and energetic reciprocity. When Venus and Saturn bring a serious tone into the atmosphere, they often expose where your resources are being mishandled, where your generosity is not being respected, and where your fear of disappointing others has made you careless with your own value. Tomorrow's Libra Moon can bring important clarity around money, especially if you have been overgiving, undercharging, investing from emotion instead of wisdom, or tying your financial confidence too closely to external approval. You may begin to recognize that abundance has been blocked not only by external delays, but by internal imbalance. Maybe you kept saying yes because you were afraid of losing connection. Maybe you made financial decisions from guilt. Tolerated unfair arrangements because you wanted to keep peace. Maybe you forgot that self-worth and financial boundaries are deeply connected. This is the kind of transit that can make you finally understand that money is not separate from emotional maturity. The way you allow others to treat your time, labor, talent, and energy becomes part of your abundance story. When the scales rebalance, you stop leaking value. You stop negotiating against yourself. You stop calling self-sacrifice a virtue when it is actually a fear response. And in that shift, abundance begins returning in a more stable form. Do not be surprised if tomorrow brings practical realizations about what must be protected. A subscription you no longer need, debt dynamic that feels one-sided, a business situation that needs firmer structure, a spending habit that has been covering an emotional ache, a pattern of saying yes to things that leave you depleted. These are not small details. This is the universe asking you to make your resources reflect your self-respect. The scales are not only rebalancing your heart, they are rebalancing what you permit, what you pay for, what you work for, and what you are finally ready to receive. Without apology, your body too is part of this cosmic conversation. Under pressure like this, the nervous system can become overstimulated even when nothing dramatic is happening on the outside. You may notice shallow breathing, jaw tension, digestive sensitivity, fatigue that comes in waves, or a need for much more quiet than usual. Honor that. Emotional truth is metabolized through the body. If the scales are moving, your system needs space to adjust. Hydration matters. Sleep matters. Slowing down matters. Gentle movement matters. Time away from noise matters. Because when the soul is processing karmic correction, the body often asks for sanctuary before the mind understands why. Pay attention to your intuition through physical signals. If a conversation leaves your body feeling tight, drained, confused, or anxious, do not rush to talk yourself out of that knowing. If someone's presence feels heavier than their words suggest, notice that. If silence feels peaceful around one person and punishing around another, notice that too. The body has a way of measuring truth long before logic catches up. Tomorrow's Libra Moon heightens that intelligence. It sharpens your ability to feel whether something is balanced, respectful, and safe. That is a gift. Do not override it. Just because you are used to enduring discomfort in the name of hope, the relationships and communication themes of this transit are some of the strongest. And this is where many viewers will feel the message most deeply, because Venus and Saturn have no interest in fantasy without substance. They do not bless emotional confusion forever. They do not protect relationships that are built on avoidance, inconsistency, or one-sided effort. They begin exposing what is immature, what is uncommitted, what is emotionally unavailable, and what only survives through ambiguity. Tomorrow's Libra Moon adds a demand for honesty and fairness. It asks whether the emotional exchange is mutual. It asks whether your love has somewhere real to land. It asks whether someone's actions carry the same weight as their words. You may see one of several things now. You may see someone get more serious and more honest because they do not want to lose what is real. You may see someone withdraw because they cannot meet the level of maturity this moment requires. You may see your own heart stop chasing clarity from someone who has benefited from your confusion, or you may finally say the thing you have been holding back, not to create drama, but to restore truth. Whatever form it takes, the theme is the same. The scales are rebalancing. What has been unequal can no longer stay hidden beneath politeness, chemistry, or potential. The emotional math is being exposed now. This is especially important if you have been receiving mixed signals. Mixed signals are not a minor inconvenience. Over time, they create emotional distortion. They make you overanalyze. They keep your nervous system activated. They make you search for meaning in crumbs. They turn waiting into a habit. And eventually, they teach you to tolerate uncertainty that slowly disrespects your worth. Energy pushes against that pattern. It may not give you instant resolution, but it will give you something even more sacred, clearer sight. And once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. Once the scales reveal who is carrying weight and who is merely you creating it, your standards begin returning. Your center begins returning. Your dignity begins returning. For those in existing relationships, this transit can bring a sober but necessary moment. Some bonds will strengthen because truth is finally being spoken. Maturity can deepen intimacy if both people are willing. To meet it, honest conversations, boundary setting, and real accountability can become the bridge to something more stable. But for other relationships, the silence may become more revealing than words. Emotional distance may expose itself. Long ignored imbalances may rise too high to minimize. This is not the universe destroying love. It is the universe removing illusion from love so that what remains can be trusted. So what should you do during this transit? First, stop chasing what has become unclear. Let the scales reveal what they need to reveal. Do not beg confusion to become certainty. Observe. Watch patterns. Watch who becomes more respectful when things get serious, and who disappears when easy access is no longer guaranteed. Second, protect your energy and your resources. Delay impulsive emotional spending. Be careful with promises. Be careful with overcommitting. Third, have one honest conversation if your spirit has been asking for it, but only if it comes from self-respect, not desperation. Say what is true and let the response teach you something. Fourth, journal what is felt out of balance in your life. Not only in love, but in work, money, family, and inner dialogue. Name the imbalance. The moment you name it, the scales begin moving faster. Also, do not underestimate the power of stepping back. This is not a transit that rewards emotional overreaching. You do not need to force closure, force clarity, or force someone to become who they are not. Sometimes cosmic justice begins the moment you stop interfering with truth. Let people reveal their level. Let silence expose intention. Let consistency, or the lack of it, speak. The scales do not need your panic. They need your willingness to see. Now let us move into the 3 zodiac signs most affected by this karmic rebalancing. Because for Libra, Aries, and Cancer, this moment is deeply personal. Libra, this transit is entering your emotional field like a mirror you can no longer turn away from. The moon in your sign heightens everything. Your sensitivity, your awareness, your desire for peace, your exhaustion with imbalance may have spent too long trying to keep the atmosphere harmonious while privately carrying grief, uncertainty, or resentment. You may have been telling yourself that if you stay soft enough, understanding enough, patient enough, the scales would fix themselves. But now you are being shown that peace without truth is only delay. Your karmic shift is about reclaiming your center. It is about recognizing that your gift for seeing both sides must no longer become an excuse for tolerating what wounds you. What was taken from you may have been confidence, emotional certainty, or trust in your own standards. And tomorrow, the scales begin to return it. Not through revenge, but through recognition. Not through conflict, but through clarity. Your rebirth begins the moment you stop calling imbalance beautiful, just because it once felt meaningful. Aries. For you, this energy arrives through the mirror of other people. The Libra Moon highlights your relationship axis, and Venus with Saturn is asking whether the people around you truly match your future. You may be forced to confront the difference between passion and partnership, between chemistry and commitment, between being wanted and being supported. For some of you, what was taken was time. Time spent waiting for someone to become emotionally real. Time spent explaining yourself to people who only respond when they fear losing access. Time spent treating intensity like devotion. But tomorrow brings a correction. The scales are showing you where your fire has been wasted and where your heart has been underprotected. This is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming discerning. You are learning that being strong does not mean tolerating emotional chaos. Being brave does not mean staying where reciprocity is absent. Your karmic shift is fierce because it asks you to pull your energy back from what excites you, but does not truly honor you. And when you do, a new level of self-respect begins shaping your entire future. Cancer, this transit touches the deepest place because it activates your need for emotional safety, belonging, and truth. You are one of the signs most likely to feel this shift in the body first, in the chest, in sleep patterns, in the sudden need to pull away and process. You may have been carrying hidden sadness for longer than you admit, may have been trying to keep others comfortable, while neglecting the quiet ache inside you. What was taken from you may have been emotional security, peace in the home, or the sense that your love was being met with the same care you gave so naturally. But the scales are moving now. Tomorrow can bring a sobering clarity around what no longer feels safe, what no longer feels mutual, and what no longer deserves direct access to your tenderness. This is not meant to harden you. It is meant to protect you. Your rebirth comes through emotional honesty, through trusting what your body has been telling you, through ending the habit of staying in spaces that feel heavy just because you do not want to disappoint anyone. The justice arriving for you is not loud, it is intimate. It is the return of emotional self-trust. And once that returns, everything changes, no matter which sign you are. The message of this transit is not complicated, even if it feels intense. The scales are rebalancing. What has been out of alignment is being revealed. What has been one-sided is being measured. What has been costing you too much is being brought into the light. And what belongs to you, your peace, your standards, your clarity, your emotional dignity, your right to stable love, your right to truthful exchange, is beginning to return. So do not fear the seriousness of tomorrow. Do not fear the sobering tone. Some of the holiest moments in life do not arrive wrapped in comfort. They arrive as clarity. They arrive as a threshold where you can no longer unknow what you know. They arrive as a quiet but irreversible rebalancing. This is one of those moments. If you have felt delayed, drained, or quietly heartbroken, understand this. The universe has not forgotten the weight you carried. The cosmic scales remember, the soul remembers, and when the time is right, balance returns. Tomorrow may not fix everything at once, but it can begin something sacred. It can begin the return of your discernment. It can begin the return of your self-respect. It can begin the return of truth, and truth is often the first form of justice. Let that be enough for now. Let clarity be the doorway. Let self-honor be the correction. Let silence reveal what noise has hidden. Let the scales move, and as they move, bless what leaves. Bless what becomes clear. Bless what can no longer follow. You bless the lesson as it closes. Bless the future as it opens. Because this is not only a karmic ending, it is a rebirth. The version of you that tolerated imbalance is fading. The version of you that can recognize real alignment is rising. And once the scales have rebalanced, you will not mistake peace for emptiness, distance for mystery, or inconsistency for fate ever again. Cosmic justice arrives tomorrow, not only because something outside you is changing, but because something within you is finally refusing to live beneath what is true. That is the miracle. That is the correction. That is the sacred return. And for the three signs most affected, Libra, Aries, and Cancer, this is where everything begins to change.